Hello, I'm Robert Van Rissingham. If anybody has studied my work, we're always looking at mineral content and how it affects human health, how to increase that mineral content in plants, how to actually change the value and quality of our food system by adding minerals to the soil. So what we were looking at a year ago was taking pennies, because we know that the newer pennies have a high level of zinc, and teaching people how to make their own soil amendments using that. When I analyzed it, it actually gave us an alarming number of mercury in that, and I don't know if that mercury is real. I know my equipment will read that spectrum line, but if it's not calibrated for that exact amalgamation between the zinc and the copper, there's not a guarantee that we're seeing it. We could see a line in that of either copper or zinc within a different percentage. So I'm hoping somebody out there will actually analyze using a different mode of analytical to see if we're indeed seeing mercury in that. But even without mercury, there's a very big danger in these pennies. When we look at autism rate, we're seeing a massive increase in autism. Between 1975 and 1985, it doubled. And that represents a double. You can see that curve is just skyrocketing. And when we're looking at when the new pennies came into being, it was 1982. Now this chart here is based upon autism cases by birth year. So naturally before 1982 we're going to see an increase because that's when these babies were born. It might have been a year and a half before they actually swallowed the penny, or when they started crawling enough to find these pennies. And for that reason, I believe that we might be onto something to see the correlation between the zinc penny and the increased rate of autism. Now this penny is a 1982 one. It's one I found on the ground. It had a scratch in it, probably from a car driving over it. That scratch actually exposes the zinc layer. So if somebody were to swallow this, and babies do swallow things, they don't have pockets, they only have a mouth to put things in. They're very capable, and there's enough evidence that kids swallow money. I remember as a kid, I swallowed money, but it was a copper penny and a pure silver dime. It would pass through me with absolutely no problems. But these, when it hits the stomach acid, and when you see the rate of increase, what you're seeing, probably the same amount of kids swallow things if they can make contact with it, but the amount of pennies in circulation, and I'll go back to this slide, actually you can see from 1982, the increase in penny production. In 1982, there was over 10 billion pennies that went into circulation. And so as copper pennies came out of circulation, we were flooded with the cheaper valued zinc pennies, giving us this curve. Like I say, kids probably, same amount of kids and percentages swallow coins. It's just what type of coins they swallowed and how detrimental they are. I would like you to do this experiment yourselves. Just scratch one of these new pennies, put it in vinegar. The acid rate on that is pretty close to the acid in the stomach. What that generates, as that zinc is going into solution, it generates a hydrogen gas. The true danger is that hydrogen gas, along with the saturation of zinc, but that hydrogen gas will cause many things to come out of solution. We'll get to that a little bit further down the slide. It's a World Health Organization chart for toxicity. There was nothing in there showing directly the toxicity of swallowing one of these pennies. But there were a tremendous amount of information as to how toxic the zinc is. A zinc supplement that we take, for an average adult, if we're lucky, would total over 6 years, maybe 30 grams. So less than a gram a year. You give that much to a baby, it's truly at a toxic level. A call to action on this here is if you have a newborn baby and not showing signs of autism, a healthy baby or any baby that's newborn, when you do that first haircut, retain that sample. That hair sample will give you mineral data that will show if the baby's exposed to something. You'll see an increase of that mineral, hopefully in the hair sample. Not everything goes to the hair, but at least it gives you something to start with. The next call to action is pull these pennies, keep them out of the reach of children. They are truly, in my opinion, anything that a baby can swallow is a choking hazard. This is a hypothesis. I'm not saying that these pennies are toxic, but I truly believe that there's a correlation here that's worth looking at. So removing pennies from the reach of children. When we talked about the digestion and the hydrogen and also zinc, when zinc goes into solution, all of these other minerals will fall out of solution, meaning that if they're in a bioavailable form in foods and stuff, they're going to start precipitating out. And if that hydrogen is in a tissue, having minerals that are not in a bioavailable form but reduced down to metallic form can be very dangerous. Hydrogen gas itself will reduce copper, mercury, silver, and gold, which will deposit in the tissue, and to get those to go back into solution is almost I can't think of a scenario that you would, unless the body goes septic, that you would start lowering the pH again to put those back in. So they'll deposit as damaging minerals, in my belief, to the body. Once again, the zinc, the copper is not going to go into solution in that acid, because it takes a little bit stronger acid to get that to go in. But all of the zinc will, and the damage could be irreversible. So the penny, that we're seeing pennies laying all over. Basically, compared to what a penny was worth even when I was a kid to what they're worth now, people don't even bother to pick them up. There's one part of the penny that has tremendous value, and that's the writing on it. When you pick up a penny, "In God we trust," just say that prayer and add anything you want to it. "In God we trust that our children will not show signs of autism by picking this up," is the simplest prayer you can make. God bless you, all of you parents that have autistic children.